Hi everybody, Dr. Pingle here with a quick lesson on creating geodatabases. Shapefiles are a common way to store data, but a much more powerful, much more flexible way of keeping track of that data is going to be with geodatabases. So let's take a look in ArcGIS with an easy way to do that. You can browse through here, but most of the time what I like to do is just search. So we'll look for create geodatabase. And there are three different kinds of geodatabases that we work with commonly. So we've got enterprise geodatabases, we've got file geodatabases, and we've got personal geodatabases. And you'll see that some of these are abbreviated with GDB. We're going to create both file and personal geodatabases here, just as an example. Enterprise geodatabases would be things that you would use probably when you're working on larger job sites, if you're working with a city or a county, or a business of a good size. There's a good chance that you'd be using enterprise geodatabases that support multi-user interaction to a much better degree. So let's make a personal geodatabase. So we'll click on that. All we have to do is specify the location. So we're going to start out here by specifying a spot. In this case, we'll just use something on the desktop for now. And we'll create a folder. Okay, now like many dialog boxes in ArcGIS, what we have to do is we have to specify the location first, and then we have to specify a name. So here I'm going to click on the folder, highlight notebook, and hit add, so that's going to show up here in location. And we're just going to put a name here, so we'll just put any name here. We'll call it notebook 3-1, since this is the first one I'll be making. You don't need to make an extension. In fact, you don't want to create an extension. So just try to keep these as simple as possible. Generally speaking, you want to keep the names short-ish but descriptive. It's okay to have spaces in the file name. I tend to avoid that just because some legacy programs still have a hard time once in a while with spaces, but usually that shouldn't be a problem. You can declare the current database version. So we've got version 10, which is going to be the current one. But you can specify and be specific about which one you want. The divisions between 9 and 10 are relatively minor. You probably won't have any reason to create a geodatabase compatible with ArcGIS 9, but maybe once in a while you'll run into that on a job. So we'll just leave that as current for now and hit OK. So that's just going to take a minute to create it. We'll usually see a little dialog box when it's all done. There we go. Okay, so we'll just take a quick look. And here's the notebook. And you can see that what was created inside here is an MDB. So this is a Microsoft database file. So you can actually open this in Microsoft Access. And we could do that. So we'll just double click on that. You'll see the bunch of different tables over here. So just like a shapefile is a combination of these three required files. Geodatabases are going to include extra pieces in here. We won't get into the details of this right now, but all of your data is actually accessible right here. This file itself is empty, so there isn't any information in it. So we can, there's a difference between sort of populating the data and creating the database. So the first step in sort of the first step in the process is to create that geodatabase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the census right here, and I'm going to download the census cartographic boundary files at 1 to 20 million scale. So we'll unzip that. And we can bring this data in. So we'll just bring that into Arc. So here's our regular old data file. Now what we want to do is we're going to export this back out again. So like let's say we had this data that we were interested in and we want to convert that or put it into a geodatabase that we're working on. So we can right click on this and hit data and export the data. We're going to export all of the features. We'll use the same coordinate system, so we're not going to change that around. And one of the things that you might notice is that by default you're going to be outputting a feature class to what's called your default geodatabase. So this file here actually already exists. It's in my my default geodatabase. So what I want to do is I just want to change this to going to my default one, to going to the one that I just created. So if we go to Desktop, Notebook, I can select that geodatabase that I just made and hit Save. Oops. We don't want to save this as export output. We want to save this as probably something similar to what we had before, just for clarity's sake. So we'll call it CB_2015 US County 20 million. We'll hit Save. And OK. So we're exporting all of those features. We can add them back in. Obviously, it's the same data. It's just that now this is stored in a different location. So we've created a geodatabase and we've populated it. Let's do one more quick thing here. So we just made a personal geodatabase. We're going to make a file geodatabase. So here's file geodatabase. We're going to save it in the same location. So again, quirk of the ArcGIS system, we got to add the location first and then the name. So we'll call this Notebook 3-2. You have the same options to sort of decide which version number you want. We'll keep it current. And this will just take a second. So now we can go back into our notebook. One of the things that you'll notice is that while the personal geodatabase was actually a single file, so an MDB file, the file geodatabase was created as a folder. So this is a notebook 3-2.gdb. We can go in here and basically all of the tables that you would have seen in the personal geodatabase are going to be in here just in a slightly different format. So two ways to create geodatabases. Let's look at a third. What I want to do here is to bring up ArcGIS. And this time open ArcCatalog. So ArcCatalog doesn't get used all that often. Some people use it more than others. It's a convenient way to sort of browse data sets. So if we go to the desktop and into Notebook, one of the things that's very useful is that we can browse into this and we can click on our cartographic boundary file that we just got from the census, and we can actually take a look at it and see what it looks like without ever opening Arc. And it's a lot faster. So if you're just sort of like quickly looking for some data, that's very handy. But you can actually create geodatabases straight from ArcCatalog, so this is a convenient way to do things. So if I right-click on my folder and hit New, I've got the same options to create file geodatabases or personal geodatabases as I do in ArcGIS. So they would work exactly the same. Click on that. And what we get is a new personal geodatabase, and we have the option to name it whatever we want. So we could call it Notebook 3.3. And this is essentially a blank personal geodatabase, just like we would have created in Arc. So there's a quick look at creating file and personal geodatabases and populating them with some data. And you're going to need this on future assignments. So this is a nice little bit to be up on. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.